Hello, I'm Tom Wilkinson, and welcome to the Thinking in English podcast, a podcast for intermediate to advanced level learners of English. On today's episode of Thinking in English, let's learn some of the English words you are probably using incorrectly. Check out thinkinginenglish.blog for the full transcript of today's lesson. And head over to Instagram, Thinking in English Podcast, or the link is in the description. Lots of great content on there. Hopefully, after listening to a few episodes of this podcast, you've come to realize the flexibility and ever-changing nature of the English language. Words are invented, evolve, change meaning, and sometimes disappear from our vocabularies. Think of the word awful. What does it mean? In modern English, the dictionary defines awful as very bad or unpleasant. You know, an awful smell or an awful person. However, originally, it meant the complete opposite. A combination of the words awe and full. Awful was used to refer something that inspired wonder, awe, and fear. You know, watching a massive waterfall could be described as awful, as it inspired wonder. Over the years, the word was used incorrectly by so many people that eventually the meaning completely changed. And there are hundreds of similar examples in the English language of words with meanings that have evolved to be completely different from their original meaning. However, not all of these words have been accepted to the degree of the term awful. Many words are regularly used incorrectly, sometimes in the wrong grammar or sometimes with completely wrong meanings. Today, I want to introduce you all to a few English words that are commonly misused by both native speakers and language learners. And I think that's important. These words I'm teaching you today, they're not targeted specifically at you as a language learner, but they are things that I get wrong, that all native speakers have probably misused in the past. Perhaps in the future, the words I'm going to introduce, their meanings will change. But as of the time I'm writing this episode, people are using them incorrectly. Literally. I've chosen literally as the first word of today's episode because it is probably the most misused word in modern English. It's at risk of losing its original meaning in the next few decades, and I find its incorrect use really annoying. In standard English, literally means actual fact. It means in a literal sense, as opposed to non-literal or exaggerated sense. Literally is used to say that something really happened in a completely accurate way, or to emphasize the truth or accuracy of your statement. It is a synonym of words including precisely, exactly, or accurately. For example, the celebration Mardi Gras literally translates as Fat Tuesday in French. Or there are literally hundreds of thousands of podcasts on Spotify. These are things that are true, and I want to emphasize. However, you've probably heard literally used incorrectly, because I think it's more common to use it incorrect than correctly in the modern English. Somehow, the word has taken on the exact opposite meaning. People use literally for something that isn't an actual fact. It is used as a synonym for virtually or figuratively. A friend of mine once told me that she was literally going to die from embarrassment. Now, that's not possible, and she wasn't going to die. She was just really embarrassed. She used literally to emphasize her embarrassment. Instead, she should have said she was going to die from embarrassment, figuratively speaking. Another friend once told me the restaurant we were meeting at was literally opposite the train station. So I took his word literally. I believed him and I arrived at the train station. I looked at the restaurants opposite the street and I couldn't seem to find it. In fact, the restaurant was about 50 meters away. It was close, but it was not literally opposite the train station. So make sure you don't make the same mistakes as my friends have. Ironic. Have you heard the song Ironic by Alanis Morissette? It is really famous. Her song describes various situations in life and follows them by asking the question, isn't it ironic? Don't you think? Let me read you one of the song's verses, just so you understand a little better. A traffic jam when you're already late, a no smoking sign on your cigarette break. It's like 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife. It's meeting the man of my dreams and then meeting his beautiful wife. And isn't it ironic? Don't you think? Well, to answer Alanis' question, no, I don't think any of that is ironic because it is not ironic. Ironic is always misused by people all the time, including in this famous song. The situations, all of the situations, or at least the majority of the situations Alanis Morissette put in her song Ironic, are examples of coincidences, not irony. A no smoking sign on your cigarette break is annoying, unfortunate, and coincidental, but it is not ironic. However, maybe the fact that Alanis Morissette wrote a whole song about irony without including any ironic examples may in itself be ironic. Let me explain. An ironic statement conveys a meaning that is opposite of its literal meaning. So we just learnt literal in the last word. So when you make an ironic statement, you say one thing, but mean something completely different. If there is a terrible storm with gusting winds and torrential rain, an ironic statement would be to say, what a beautiful day. Or if you're feeling really, really sick, you have a headache and stomach pains, and you just want to lie in bed all day, and someone asks you, how do you feel? You could reply with an ironic statement like, I feel great, or I feel like $1,000,000. This is the most common form of irony. It's called verbal irony. But you can also have dramatic irony. So, for example, a TV show where the audience knows something the characters don't know, and situational irony, where the outcome turns out different to what is expected. Now, situational irony is the one that gets confused most, and it's where I guess the mistakes are made in, for example, in Alanis Morissette's song. So when someone says, isn't it ironic, or they use the word irony, just question whether it is really irony, or maybe they're just talking about something unusual or a coincidence. Irregardless. Even though irregardless is commonly used, it is not actually a real word. It's not a word we use in English, or we should use at least. What people really want to say is regardless, which is used to mean in spite of present circumstances. For example, regardless of the result, I'm happy with my answers in the exam. Or regardless of how many times you ask, I'm not going to lend you my car. Irregardless is a portmanteau, so a combination of regardless and irrespective. People have taken the word regardless and irrespective and put them together to make irregardless. While some people consider irregardless as part of non standard or different variants of English, and it has been used for hundreds of years, I would advise you to avoid it. Instead, just use either regardless or irrespective, because they are both grammatically and, I guess, in terms of history and meaning, always considered correct. Poisonous. The reason I've included poisonous on this list is because of a discussion I overheard about poisonous snakes. The people involved in that discussion were talking about what they would do if they got bitten by a poisonous snake. Things like how would they get the poison out of their body, how should they go to hospital, and whether they should capture the snake that bit them. However, they made a very common mistake. Poisonous is not the correct word. Even though TV shows and magazines talk about poisonous snakes all the time, snakes are very, very, very rarely poisonous. Something that is poisonous could be fatal or it could kill you if you eat it, drink it, inhale it, or absorb it. Some wild mushrooms are poisonous if you eat them. The apple that Snow White ate was poisonous. And medicine can be poisonous if it's used incorrectly. Something that could kill you if it bites you, like a snake, is venomous, not poisonous. The inland taipan is the most venomous snake in the world. So, like I said, all over the TV and the internet and magazines, you will see references to poisonous snakes. But in fact, most dangerous snakes are not poisonous. They deliver toxins by biting. They are venomous, and most of their toxins are in their teeth. Therefore, they're not poisonous. If you eat a snake, probably you'll be fine. I don't know if it will taste nice, but there wouldn't be poison in their body. Ultimate. Ultimate is not necessarily always misused, but often people don't know all of the meanings of the term and don't always follow the proper grammar. Most people think ultimate means the best of all, and that is correct. It can be used as a noun, such as Rolex is the ultimate in luxury watch brands, or as an adjective, such as they want to challenge the ultimate power of the president. However, in a sentence like, it is not possible to predict the ultimate outcome of the situation, ultimate doesn't mean the best, but it means the final. And this, I guess, is the original meaning of the word ultimate, final or last. So you should use ultimate to describe the final result or aim of a series of events, or the original source or cause of something. So I'm not sure what my ultimate aim is for this podcast, but some people have told me I should ultimately try to make this my job. So ultimate can be used here to talk about the best, the final, or the last. So make sure you remember that when you see someone say, yeah, this is the ultimate aim or the ultimate goal. Doesn't necessarily mean the best, but the final. Regularly. Regularly is also commonly misunderstood. People use it very often, but sometimes not in the correct way. Regularly does not mean to do something frequently, but instead to do something consistently. Let me give you an example. Person one plays golf the second Tuesday of every month and has done so for 5 years. So he plays golf once a month on the same day for the last 5 years. Person two, however, he played golf twice last week, 7 times the week before, 0 times 3 weeks ago, and once the week before that. The way he plays golf is, he plays a lot, maybe 7 times some weeks, once some weeks. He always plays golf. Many people would say that person 2, he plays the most golf, so they would say that he regularly plays golf. But actually, person 2 doesn't regularly play golf. They play frequently, they play a lot, they play often, but not regularly. Regularly means to do something at uniform intervals of time and with consistent or definite patterns. Therefore, the golfer who only plays once a month, but always the same day, golfs regularly. Take another example. The school reunion has taken place regularly every 2 years. It is regular because it is consistent, every 2 years. It's not frequent. It's not happening every 2 weeks or every day. There's a long time between each reunion, but it is regular because it is consistent. I try to keep my podcast uploads relatively regular as well. I try to regularly upload the podcasts 3 times a week. Inflammable. The final commonly misused word I'm going to introduce today is an interesting one. Inflammable. Sometimes the English language can be confusing and contradictory. As a prefix, in can have the meaning of no or not. If something is inoffensive, it is not offensive. Or inaction means no or a lack of action. Therefore, as flammable means easy to set on fire, inflammable should mean the opposite, difficult to set on fire. Right? Actually, no. Wrong. English is a little confusing here. Flammable and inflammable actually mean the exact same thing in the English language. They both mean that something can catch fire easily. Paper is flammable. Paper is inflammable. Right? Oil is highly flammable. Oil is highly inflammable. It means the exact same thing. Both words are used in the same kinds of sentences. And I think it's probably one of the more confusing things about the English language, that we have words that can sound like they should be complete opposites, but in real life, they mean the same thing. And you should know this because you will see both words commonly used on fire safety materials or warnings on the back of products. So I have a bottle of deodorant in my room, which I bought from the UK when I moved to Japan. And on the back of it, it says danger inflammable, which you might think means, oh, great, it's inflammable. It's not going to catch fire. But as I just told you, inflammable means flammable. It means it can catch fire easily. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review or rating, recommend it to your friends, or let me know on Instagram. My Instagram is thinkinginenglishpod. The link should be in the description. And make sure you check out the Thinking in English blog. I love hearing from listeners, and I really appreciate all of the messages I have received over the past few months. Feel free to send me a message or give me some advice or recommend a topic. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.